worst case scenario. That's this whole thing is based around worst case,
So a kidnapping.
But in the best case situation where we are so successful at spreading this great conversation and getting more people talking, if we get 1 million people talking with us, then that's going to be amazing. But even if 5 out of those 1 million people are so determined to find us and talk to us in person without our consent, then that's dangerous.
You are listening to our podcast, Do You Have a Minute?, in which a guy and his daughter dive into deep discussions about life's most profound and mundane questions. While we know we don't have all the answers, and possibly none of them, we open our minds to new perspectives, and most importantly, we have a good time in conversation. Join us as we explore the unknown together. So, are we talking about privacy or warmth today?
Warmth. It's definitely warmth, because I'm cold. I can be downstairs, though, today, because the other guy went to work. He went in to work today, so.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. And I have to say the other guy because I want to keep names private.
Privacy.
So, I could say my husband, but that would be weird because you're my dad, and so telling your dad that your husband is doing something.
Husband. Yeah. Well.
But the other guy, I guess, isn't
weird.
As weird.
And weird might have stuff to do with privacy too. I don't know, because that's what you want to protect against. You want to protect against weirdness, or people thinking you're weird.
No, let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah, start with privacy. You're running this. I'm not.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk about privacy is because I need to convince you that that we need to be more anonymous, and it feels like you are expecting that we're going to be big someday. Like this endeavor is going to be so amazing that we need people to know who we are.
Do you want to? Okay, good.
Right, and so that's what I'm thinking is the thought. That's what I'm thinking. The thought is we want to be big. We want people to listen and to explore ideas for themselves. And if we can just be one more avenue for regular, normal, uneducated people like us to break into the great conversation, right?
Right. But
I am hesitant to just lay all of our personal details out there. Like even someday people will know what city we live in. Someday people will know our last names, but the longer it takes for that to happen, the better. And we don't want it to be because we freely gave it, And the reason for that, the reason that I believe privacy and
anonymity
is so important is because there are really weird people out there that will follow us around and will threaten us with just their presence. I built this house. I don't want to have to move because some weirdo is stalking me, I like where I live. And it happens. And maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe I'm not worth stalking, which is totally fine because then I'm safer and more secure that way. So I could be the worst kind of person, but still there will be people that try and find me if I'm the worst person too. So I don't think it matters what I do. Someone is going to try. It's possible. Someone will try and find me, and someone will try and find you, and someone's going to be a huge fan, and they're going to want to know where we live, and they're going to find us, and they're going to knock on our door, and that's going to be really scary. I'm going to be so scared at that point because I won't feel safe anymore if someone can find me that easily. So that's why I wanted to talk about privacy, because I have a concern. I have concerns about that. But there are so many more facets to privacy and so many areas of your life that people use that, not
We can
just
talk about it in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a large general area for that. Fear, though. Privacy for fear. Anonymity because you're afraid of something.
Afraid. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't feel safe if I was afraid, right? If I wasn't afraid, maybe I wouldn't feel unsafe.
Right. Well, that's a different topic, but does fear cause a feeling of unsafety? Safety is a lack of fear. Love is a lack of fear. Can you only feel safe if you're not afraid? So whatever you do, whatever you want to keep private, maybe the privacy question, you want to keep those private that you would be afraid if they were known, like your presence, your location, your name, the stuff that you want to remain anonymous at. You're afraid if it's known that something bad is going to happen.
You're
Or
afraid
is it
if
bad?
it's known, or you're afraid if there's a possibility, even if it could happen.
A possibility for it to happen, but there are things that you're afraid of happening. So the fear is that there's something that's going to happen, and that's why you want to stay anonymous. That's why you don't want to let them know. Don't tell them, they'll be upset. That's the type of privacy. Let's keep this conversation private. Quiet, maintain the secret.
That's different, but that is a valid privacy thing. It's keeping something secret because someone will be upset is different than keeping something secret because someone will use that information against you.
Is the fear the same though? You're afraid that someone's going to be upset. You're going to hurt somebody. You don't want to hurt anybody else, but you don't want to be hurt yourself. That's the differentiation between those two. You don't want yourself to be hurt. You don't mind if I tell the secrets. There's no secrets. Hurt everybody else I want to, because that's as bad as you want to be. I want to hurt everybody else, but I just don't want to be hurt myself. And so the privacy that I want to maintain is to protect myself from the fear of outside.
You know, and you could extend that fear of harm. It's not just to myself, to my tier 0, but it's also to my tier 1. Those in my immediate household. Are they also at risk of being harmed? If someone is finding me, is looking for me, they're also, like my family could be a innocent bystander victim.
Right.
Worst case scenario. That's this whole thing is based around worst case, you know.
So a kidnapping.
But in the best case situation where we are so successful at spreading this great conversation and getting more people talking, if we get 1 million people talking with us, then that's going to be amazing. But even if 5 out of those 1 million people are so determined to find us and talk to us in person without our consent, then that's dangerous.
There certainly will be 5. 0.5% of people out of 1 million are going to do it. I mean, 100,000. 0.5% of 100,000 is 0.5%. Yeah, 100,000. That's 5 people. So just 100,000. You're going to have 50 people at 1 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
500 people. 500 people will find you, and that's what you call paparazzi. Then you get paparazzi at your door. So they just want to be part of. I just want to see Jordan Peterson, but at that point, Jordan, you know, he's setting up. He's doing events. So you start doing events. If you get to that point, you're doing events. 1 million people, even 100,000 people, you're probably doing events, and you're saying you're going to see me at this location, and we'll talk, or something along that line. But can you still maintain your private thing? We talk about these famous people that are already famous. Tim Ferriss, he says undisclosed location in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So when he goes to his cabin, nobody knows where his cabin is.
Yeah.
But I bet there's 500 people that have found his cabin. There probably are people who know where it is. So we know that he's in Austin, Texas. He lives there. But then he goes to his cabin, an undisclosed location. Or like Glenn Beck has a place in Idaho. And I think he knows where it is. Some people have, you know, I've seen the fence. I tried to find the fence line that someone had a picture of once, but couldn't find it on the road that I know that he lives on. But his ranch is up there somewhere.
How do you feel? What do you think these people are feeling when if someone is posting photos of their property.
Yeah, or they take, with drones, you can get the pictures of the house, and like they did with President Trump and the ISIS leader, or the guy in Afghanistan now. What is the group that's running Afghanistan? But he said, when he talked about it, he said, we didn't have people killed for 18 months because I showed the guy a picture of his house and I said, we know where you are.
Yeah.
So don't you dare fire your people. Don't fight our military in your country, or your house is gone.
That specific thing came up in the last week between me and some friends, and the way my friend had represented it was on a podcast. Somebody said, Trump said, if you do this, I will kill you, and that's exaggerated, because what Trump said was he just gave them, he insinuated that he would kill them. He just sent them a picture of their house, like, I know where you live. But then I was looking into that incident, and apparently the people in Afghanistan, some high up government people, are like, that didn't happen. That's not even real. I mean, it's all hearsay. That's the thing, is one side wants everyone to know this is how it happened. The other side wants everyone to know, no, this other way is how it happened. It never happened that way. We never had he never threatened us. Why would we be believing that, And so, but yeah, that is a story that's going out and it's making people feel things.
Okay. So the current story between Russia and Ukraine with the missiles flying over, and Putin potentially said that if there are missiles, it's because Ukraine doesn't have the technology to fire at a specific spot. They have to be using NATO support, someone from Europe or France or England or the U.S. He says he'll declare war on the U.S. if these missiles are used, because he knows that it's not just Ukraine fighting now. They're not just using the material, they're using technology from outside. U.S. satellites. Whoever's talking in that, we're only hearing hearsay. We're only hearing news reports. We don't know what Putin's really said, or that they really shot those flights. I mean, they had pictures of them, but that may have been something else. You can't know. Are they afraid of it, though? Do they have privacy fears?
Yeah, if that happened the way that Trump described it, and it did change how things were going, then that would imply that there's a fear that something was going to happen.
There's a fear there. Right. And his family needed to protect his family. He needed to protect his tier one, this Al-Qaeda leader.
Yeah.
Putin's making his decisions. He needs to protect his family. He needs to protect his country. The Ukrainian government needs to protect their country and their families. Trump needs to protect his family and his country. Biden should need to protect his country, but Biden's one that gave that order to go ahead and use this technology. The rules of war, they opened the rules of war a little bit more, and he said, if you open them that far, then we're going to have to expand it the next step. So that's what brings you into World War III, which we should be more afraid of than someone finding our house.
Yeah, so are you saying you don't need to be afraid of that because there are bigger fish to fry? Like
that's one way to look at it. One way to look at it is if you protect everything that you have, and like a hermit, a hoarder, say you just keep everything. You want to be ultimately prepared, and everything's going to work. If a bomb goes off 100 miles from you and your house is demolished, what does your preparation matter? The other side of that is, why should we even worry about anything?
Right.
The fatalistic view of life.
It's going to happen anyway, so your worry isn't getting you anywhere.
Where is safety? So the thing I would lead it to is, where is safety really based in? What's it really based in? Is it based in anonymity? Being anonymous, are you safe? The anonymous people get blown up by the bomb just the same as anybody else. Anonymous people are still targeted by the mob that comes through town, or the pack of wolves that ravage, or the wildfire that burns down the town. Doesn't matter how anonymous you are. natural disasters will happen to everybody anyway. It rains on the good and the evil. The fire burns the good and the evil. The major events that are going to happen are going to happen. What we're talking about, though, isn't major events. We're talking about just interpersonal relationships, that you're going to have a crazy person down the street. What's the likelihood that a crazy person is going to just fire their firearm in a crowded theater anyway, which just happened, or a shopping mall, that you're going to happen to be in the shopping mall? Should just never go to shopping malls again, since 10 years ago, someone shot guns in a shopping mall.
Right. And we have a greater chance of dying in a car accident than of being in a shopping mall when there's an active shooter.
Right. And so you can prepare by being a counter shooter in that case.
Yeah.
Concealed carry, and being prepared with your own defense mechanisms to stop anything that's happening to people around you. So what kind of preparation can you make in relation to what we're talking about, a conversation, and trying to keep your home secure from crazies that might be looking for you?
Well, if we had a lot of money, then we could put up fences and get expensive guard dogs and have a man at the gate with the wire into his ear and screening everybody that comes by.
Have a secret service, our own private secret service behind your walls. And that's how they do it in Hollywood, right? The big mansions, the what roads, Highway to the Stars? I forget. There's some roads there that all the big mansions are on.
Right.
And you know that all the famous people live there, and they're all behind a gate, and they all have cameras and dogs and security personnel.
Right. And they have to do that. Like, they're not just living life easy. They're probably making sure that they're safe everywhere they go.
They don't just walk around the street.
Yeah, and if they do, they wear hats and sunglasses and try to make it so that they're not even recognizable.
But they always are, because the paparazzi always finds them.
They know. The paparazzi know their routines. They know the clothes that they usually wear.
It's the people that are just sitting in their cars out on the street waiting for the car to leave, and they know that that's the car that they're driving, that they're in.
Yeah.
And then they radio with their Secret Service earphones to the next person. They're going out. They're turning towards the mall. They're likely to be in the mall. So then they call the 400 people to get to the mall.
Right.
Because Michael Jackson is going to be at the mall right now, shopping for sunglasses. Of course, he's no longer shopping. But
yeah, back then he was
use someone that's way familiar, that was way popular.
Yeah.
There are people that are just on the edge of popularity. Who was it that says I can't walk down the street anymore? Oh, it was J.D. Vance was talking. He says, when I was just a senator, when I was a senator, hardly anyone knew me, but now I can't go anywhere. Anywhere you go, his beard, his face, everyone knows his face.
Yeah.
So he says it's been difficult. It's a new life. It's a different arena that I'm walking in now. And he was doing all those things. And now he's been completely quiet for the last month, probably just at home or whatever he's doing, preparing, but he'll go back to being silent again, most likely.
Yeah, nobody ever hears from the vice president.
Right. And maybe he'll be more involved. He was certainly right up front, like he was running for president during the campaign.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And he said that's where he had the issue is, it's a different life when everyone knows you on the street. You can't go anywhere. Where do you go?
Does the vice president live in the White House too, or do they live somewhere nearby?
No, I think they're nearby. There's another house.
A black house? It's the White House and the black house.
Yeah, I think there's a house provided to the vice president, like the governor's mansions and things like that. So anonymity, he was anonymous before he ran for Congress. Then in Ohio, people knew him. And then now, so a few people in the Senate, but generally through the nation, he could probably still fly commercial and not be known, not be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
But now he can't fly commercial anymore because he's that popular. Anyone that gets that I've never seen a celebrity fly. I mean, I don't fly very often anyway. I mean, if I had a job that was in the air all the time, then maybe you do see, like seeing a member of the Quorum of the 70 or LDS popular people, the
Yeah.
apostles. Do they just take standard commercial flights everywhere they go? And I think they do. I think they have to. So every Thursday or Friday or whatever, they'll get in the planes and they'll all just leave the airport. But I haven't been part of that. So
Yeah.
it'd be cool if we could talk to someone at some point, or someone. I never have spoken with anyone that's seen him in the airport even.
Do you think if you were sitting next to a member of the LDS church leadership, you would feel like you'd want to talk their ear off the whole flight, or would you want to let them have 2 hours of peace where they don't have to talk to anybody?
I don't know. I base that on,
Like, what would you like if you were in that position?
I'm either going to work on things when I've been in flights across the country, and I've done it 2 or 3 times is all, but I've always had something to work on. I'd be reading a book or writing things or doing something. I'll have a project that I'm working on. I won't just sit there or watch a movie or talk with the people. I try to I maintain my privacy right there in my seat so that no one knows who I am or anything.
Yeah.
I've never even had a conversation with the person in the seat next to me on a plane.
But what if they were famous? Like, what if it was Jordan Peterson you accidentally sat next to? Which is unlikely because he probably flies in a private plane everywhere he goes, but...
Yeah, so he probably can't fly in public airlines either.
Right.
I was going to mention the fact that you and I have taken a few 12, 13-hour car rides.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked the whole way. 13
Right.
hours of conversation. There was no just listen to radio or let's listen to this and not talk. It was a conversation the whole way. So
Yeah.
we didn't have 13 hours or 2 hours of relaxation time. It was complete talking. I think we've done that twice.
At least.
2
because
times.
we've only done it twice without Mom, I think.
Yeah. Without someone else that's in there that's going to interrupt the conversation or say, you guys are stupid.
Right. But, I mean, so we did do that, which means that if you are presented with the opportunity to have conversation with somebody, then you'll do it.
Talk for 4 hours on the plane. We'll just have a good conversation for 4 hours on the plane. I wouldn't mind that, I don't think, but
yeah,
I don't want to impose myself on someone else. So privacy, I want to respect their privacy. So if it were David Bednar, let's say, was on the seat next to me or in my same row, and or even next to me, if he wanted to talk, I would talk.
Yeah.
And I might ask him a question,
to see if he wanted to talk.
Yeah, to see if he would open it up anymore.
Just test the waters.
I think you've said everything about we're living in Revelation. But do you have any more? What's your current thoughts on that living in Revelation thought? Because that's the most recent thing you said, but that was in January. It's a long time ago. They live just like the rest of us. When you say something and it goes viral or it goes out there, or if it was Brad Wilcox who talked about grace is sufficient, where they had something that went viral that's been out there, and he's talked about it recently. So what's the current thought on this? What are you currently working on? How can I help you? That's what I'd ask David A. Bednar. How can I help you? I've got a life of experience. Let me add that. What's the situation you're thinking about, or what story last impressed you, or what story do you need?
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you're working on now.
If you get the opportunity to do that, I hope that he treats you well.
And so talking about privacy too, President Nelson, he was talking about how people want to talk about what he talked about in General Conference when he meets them after the General Conference. And he says, I really appreciate your talk. Tell me more about that. Or he says in conversation, I think he was doing a fireside or something when he said something like this. He said, that was 4 months ago. I'm on to all kinds of new things right now. I'm not interested. I'm not even thinking about what was done 4 months ago anymore. That's past. That's up to the church. The church studies it for 6 months, what came out in General Conference. But the general authorities, those who are presenting it, are on to the next thing. They're moving forward. They're trying to create the next step, as opposed to being stuck on the step from 4 years ago that says revelation is the most personal, revelation is the highest thing, or whatever they said. You're living in revelation. They've got other things they're working on. So that would be the conversation, something that they're working on now, something that we can work on actively.
Yeah. So bring that back around.
So if we're in a conversation with anybody, I mean, are we interrupting their privacy? Would you mind a conversation on a plane? If someone says, "Hey, you're that podcast person? I've listened to this for 10 years," or whatever.
So I think if a high profile person is willing to fly with the public, with the general public on an airline, they're probably preparing themselves to not have a restful, relaxing time. And the leaders of the Mormon Church have enough money at their disposal. They could take private flights everywhere they go. They don't need to fly with the public. And so if you do happen to see one in the airport, he's probably expecting that you're going to be talking to him, that someone's going to be talking to him.
That may be part of their ministry. They may see that as part of their ministry, is being in the public, with the public.
Right.
And that could be valid. And I don't know if there's security, if they have security that goes with them in those cases. If the church leaders have security. Well, they do. Anytime they come to a local facility, you've got the police security, the local police are acting as security in a fireside or a something.
Right.
Any major thing. And there's security, of course, in General Conference. There's all kinds of guys lined up in front there. So I would imagine when they fly, maybe they fly with a companion as well, either a security companion or someone else, two of them together being companions or securing each other. I don't know if you can do that.
Right. Yeah. So they take steps to protect themselves. They don't just jump out and be naked in front of everyone. Here, come and get me, They do what they feel is necessary to feel safe.
Okay. And you gauge your safety based on the level you're at, your level of risk. No one cares about us.
I know,
right now.
Not right now.
No one cares. So if they do start caring, then you deal with that at that time. But what you're saying is, should you take steps to be protective of a potential risk in the future?
Yeah.
That's part of the preparation. So I was talking about you can prepare for fires and emergencies and gun things by preparing yourself. So part of the preparation, you're saying we should prepare by maintaining anonymity, maintaining privacy, while no one cares about us. So in case anyone does care about us, they can't look back in those 100 episodes and find little clues of this is where they are.
Right. And we can pepper our, a part of preparation, we can pepper our identity, the way we talk about ourselves, with lies. Like we can create noise. And so I could say that we live in one of the, Western United States, but I'm counting Alaska as well and Hawaii. Those are both on the western side of the United States, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can create lies. So I'm having a really hard time creating a lie.
Right. Lies are lies useful then?
I have to drive at least 45 minutes to my favorite grocery store.
Our lies, well, sometimes sometimes that's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, but I mean, you can.
You do and I do. Your favorite grocery store happens to be 45 minutes away. You're passing the other 40 stores on the way. My favorite one is still 40 miles away.
Yes.
I do. Yeah, I've got one within a mile, and they're really stocking it more. So it's serving the need. I could shop all my shopping there.
Yeah,
you
could pay 4 times the price.
Prices. Right. but they got it here. I didn't have to drive the 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, that would be hard. That'd be hard to do, to come up with lies. Anyway.
and is that useful? So I do want to cover that as far, is that a valid thing to do? Is that a valid reason to lie? Should you lie to protect your privacy? From a moralistic standpoint, I'm only lying to protect my privacy. So other than people trying to find you, what else could you lie that protects your privacy? And you say, I never did that. That's a lie. Privacy of being embarrassed.
You can lie to just protect privacy. I mean, I think that's it. You could lie to protect your privacy. You could lie to protect other people from getting hurt, keeping them private.
And is that valid? So we were talking about if you tell this secret. So if you lie, you say, an example.
If somebody did something embarrassing and someone asks you if they actually did something embarrassing, you say, no. You could tell them, no, they didn't. And that would be a lie, maybe. I mean, it would be a lie if that person did do something embarrassing. Protect them from further embarrassment.
Okay, there's a famous lie that Tim Walsh gave about being at the Tiananmen Square. He was there in China that summer, within 3 months of Tiananmen Square in July, but he was there in August or something like that. So a month later, and he said he was there at Tiananmen Square, and he may never even been to Tiananmen Square. He was in China. So that's all that was proved, but he lied, and maybe that lie was that he wanted to make himself feel better or more important. You can lie for importance, so that wasn't a protecting lie.
But could it be that he was there at some point, just not at the time?
Well, and he was. Yeah, it was proven that he was there somewhere.
At some point. But he was presenting it as if he was there.
As if he was there during the event of Tiananmen Square when the tanks rolled in.
Yeah.
That summer of whenever that was.
Yeah.
So, but he wasn't. He presented that he was, but that's still grandiose. That's just saying I want to make myself more important. That's not protecting himself. Thinking Kamala's lie about working at McDonald's. Maybe she did actually work at McDonald's. They just can't prove it, and she hasn't proved it either. She's just letting it fall. But whether she did or not, if you lie about something you did when you're young, that's still grandiose. So what lies have been done to protect? Movies. Are there movies about lies we know?
Movies documenting factual lies, or just a story?
Stories, just storylines for protection. Why they did it.
I don't know.
Yeah, the Fiddler on the Roof. We talked about Tevye and the story of Model and, who's the two that got married first. He'd already had her engaged to Laser Wolf, and then
Seidel
and Model Tolstoy. Model, yeah, Seidel and Model.
Yeah,
where they made a promise to each other. They made a pledge. Gave each other their pledge. Unthinkable. Yes. Absurd. So, yes. But then he had to come up with a lie. So he came up with this dream lie. Well, we talked about that a little bit ago, but that's a classic. Is that a way to protect? He was protecting them.
His daughter.
Yeah. And changing that status quo of you have to have an arranged marriage. No, this marriage arranged itself, and we're going to lie about grandma coming back and telling us this is the way it needs to be. And then so his wife had to agree. Yeah, if grandma says that.
Yeah. Right. So that was a lie, but it wasn't privacy. It was just to protect his daughter from marrying.
That was protection. That wasn't privacy still.
Because there was that whole song, "Do You Love Me?" That's how he determined that he needed to tell his wife this lie, because love was important enough in the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that was his first indication when they got married. Seidel made that pledge. It was the first indication of love. And then later in the movie, he talked with his wife about love. Do we have love? We're just been operating here. I guess we do. I suppose I do.
Yeah.
Then I suppose I love you too. So no one was protecting themselves, though. Protection.
All right, we're going to have to come back to whether lies are useful or not at some point.
Okay,
Because
you move on to something else.
I want to talk about keeping things secret, though. That's another part of privacy, being private. If you have a private life, what do they say? The government can spy on me all they want. I've got nothing to hide. And so if you want to live a private life, does that mean that you have things to hide automatically? Like, that's just can you want privacy just for the organic nature of privacy and not because you have things to hide?
Is there a stigma to that, to wanting privacy, living a private life? It means you must be doing something wrong. You
Right.
don't want people to know where you go on Friday nights.
Right. Or like, having a VPN on your computer is obviously because you're pirating all kinds of things and you're uploading child pornography and you're...
Well, and that's the VPN, but just incognito mode. You know, if you move into that mode, the only reason you're going to do that is to do something nefarious, something unseemly.
Yes.
Something you don't want on your history.
Yes. So I do that so that, I do use incognito mode sometimes when I'm searching for something on Google, because I know that Google is tracking my history and going to give me search results that it thinks that I want to see. And so if I go to incognito, or if I move to a different, like, private browser, then I'll be able to find more than what is in my bubble.
And it won't interrupt your regular feed.
Yeah.
So you don't interrupt your regular feed. If you want to search for something, let's say you needed to look for dog treats. You don't want to listen to dog treats for the next 3 months on your standard Google account or YouTube. Let's say you're looking for dog treats. You're looking for dog treats and you're watching dog treat videos. How do you use dog treats in training? If you search a video on your feed, it then will send you all these dog treat, all these things come into your algorithm, and you'll be quoted on it. But if you do it on a guest mode or incognito mode or something, you can search on that. Then it doesn't keep track of it. The algorithm. Is that accurate? Does the algorithm not see it if you're in privacy mode on your computer?
That's a good question, because when you open an incognito tab, it's opening from Google Chrome that you're already signed into.
Right.
And so there could be a signature still.
That your people, anyone who, technical people can still see everything that you're searching for, but maybe it just doesn't go into the algorithm of what the system is feeding you now.
Yeah. And when I first when I first logged into this computer, brand new computer, and I had to go in and download Google Chrome, because Microsoft Edge is the pre-installed internet browser. And it says, when I was changing the default browser to be Chrome, Google Edge was like, "Are you sure Microsoft Edge is a more private browser than Chrome?" And so I know that there are more private browsers, but I'm willing to, I guess, sacrifice that for convenience.
Oh, okay, convenience. Sacrifice or compromise that. You'll compromise your privacy a little bit for the convenience of having something else. The VPN, if you use a VPN, what's the purpose? I talked to someone yesterday that used a VPN, and he said, every time that I put things in there, it makes up a fake email address so that I'm not locatable anyway. So it's how it connects. It's part of my VPN security. I said, okay, that's cool. He's a college student. I don't know what he needs to be secure from, but apparently he knows about the technical world, and he says that's just what happens. So that's not really an email address. So I was going to email him something, and he said, no, you can't use that one. Let me give you my real email address.
Yeah, that way you're giving your contact information to who you want them, who you want to have it.
So there's one bit of information there. Everything else can't be searched or screened.
Yeah. So if you log in to the internet, if you're connected to the internet at like a coffee shop or at the university or anywhere where the network is public and anyone can, they just click the box that says, I consent not to use this for illegal activity, and then everyone is on it, they can potentially view your activity, like the activity of other people on the network. And so using a VPN makes it so that your computer's acting like it's on a private net. It doesn't let other people see what you're doing. So like if you're going to log into your bank account or Bitcoin or, whatever, like other people on the public network won't be able to access your activity.
Right. Or see your keystrokes and identify what you typed in as your password.
Yeah. Never mind that you're in a coffee shop and everybody's walking around you and looking over your shoulder, but
yeah, watching you. And that's how they say when you put your PIN number, cover your,
cover
they
it
had
up.
those things for a while. I don't think they say, well, they still have the covers on them on gas pumps and wherever there's a keypad to type in your PIN, cover your PIN. That takes extra effort. The compliance, or you chose this. I want to read a paragraph. I just read a book, the top of this book. It's The Joy of Reading, but it's talking about education and what's happening with our system. And this is kind of what we're talking about. Just this first paragraph I'll read. It's The Joy of Education by Robert Thomas. 78, he wrote this book. That it's saying that we're missing our classical education nowadays. Compliance is an ignorant man's refuge. So comply. If you're going to comply, that's what an ignorant man does. An ignorant man just says, okay, you tell me what it's Chrome or what's the other one?
Microsoft Edge. And he's saying
Edge
it's not just what he does, it's his refuge. It's where he feels safe.
Right.
He feels most safe in compliance.
So Edge is safer, so I'm going to comply to what Edge told me right now and stay with Edge. I'm not going to look at Chrome because it's not as safe. So the ignorant man's refuge. So if you're ignorant, you don't really know what safety is, or you think safety is that. Okay. And a lazy man's substitute for obedience. So if you just don't want to work more, you're just going to do what they tell you to do. He does describe, that's what he says it is. If we are unaware of alternatives, we tend to accept that which is given us. And if we lack the skill to discriminate, we fall easy prey to those who would manipulate our responses. So that's what YouTube's doing, and Google, all the time. They're manipulating our responses, manipulating where we're going to go because they'll feed us the things they want to lead us to.
Right.
Say these next videos on your feed are those ones that we want to lead you to.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can go into using them thinking, I'm doing this intentionally. I'm only gonna watch the things that I want to watch. But the problem is, it's what is there on the page? Do you ever click those other video links and follow to something new that wasn't there, wasn't in your mind before? That's manipulation.
Always you're doing that. Yeah, you always pick something that looks interesting, and then you'll click on it. It was just scanning or scrolling or whatever, and then that records as he spent 3 seconds on that. That must have some inclination toward him. So let's send him 5 more of those. And the algorithms are set up. You say if you love it or like it on Netflix, and that helps them send the next movies to the top of your page that are like that.
Yeah.
So it's the manipulation. It's a clear manipulation instead of understanding it. He said something else that I need to find out. He said, everything is given. Okay, in a movie, if you're watching TV, everything is given: sight, sound, point of view, and interpretation. So you watch a movie or you watch a television show, they interpret it for you. Everything's there. If there is an odor of decadence about much modern writing, there is an insulting, hopelessly superficial totality about most television fare. This is in 78. This is 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
50 years ago.
50 years ago. If we thus appear caught between Scylla and Charybdis, we appear caught between Scylla and Charybdis. How few recognize this charming mythological illusion anymore. The answer is not to forego both reading and television viewing. So that illusion, the mythical illusion of Scylla and Charybdis.
What is that?
I want to find out what that is. Yeah. I'll try typing it in here. But move it on to something else. But we know that we're being manipulated by everybody outside. And that's another reason to maintain our privacy. So talk about that for a minute.
Well, I think some people don't know that they're being manipulated. They believe that they're completely in control of where their life is going.
They're being obedient and compliant, but
but they're ignorant.
They're ignorant and they're being manipulated.
Yeah. So right before you started reading from the book, you said something, and I wanted to explore that. I don't remember what, so we'll have to leave that. We'll have to leave that alone. Oh gosh, now I don't want to leave it alone. I want to figure it out.
I don't know how do you go back to that?
You don't. Not right now. We go back to it after we're done, and I don't know, put it in the show notes. So
you were going through a soliloquy when I went and picked up the book. Do you remember what you were talking about?
No.
We were talking about VPN. A soliloquy. I don't know. It was you.
I was monologuing.
Yeah. And I went and got the book, and you kept talking, and you talked about whatever it was, but weren't we talking about VPNs and why you would use them?
And doing your banking in private.
All right, let me tell you about Scylla and Charybdis.
Okay.
An idiom derived from Greek mythology, which has been associated with the proverbial advice to choose the lesser of two evils.
Oh, really?
So that's what it is.
So that's, both of them are evil, but one is less evil than the other one?
Yeah, it's like people talk about the presidency. Let's just vote for the lesser of two evils, because the libertarians would say that.
They're both
Don't
bad.
do that. Don't fall to that. Don't take the lesser of two evils. Vote for Chase Oliver.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, on the horns of a dilemma. So that's another thing, on the horns of a dilemma, between the devil and the deep blue sea, between a rock and a hard place. So that's a myth. You can look into the myth and what it actually says, but it's that between a rock and a hard place, you're devil of the details. So hard decisions to make. So that's why I was talking about television and reading. You want to read, you want to watch TV, but you want to keep your brain engaged, keep the conversation going with it, as opposed to just obedient and compliant with it.
Yeah. There's this extension in Chrome that you can install, which makes noise, and it will automatically in the background in its own tab in your browser visit a website and then switch and visit another website. Like, it'll do all of this, like, to muddy the water of what your actual activity is.
To not give a true correction of where you're going. You know,
and you can tell
you got one line, but it says here's these 50 lines it's going to create outside of you.
Yeah, it makes it impossible to decode what your actual activity is, and it'll spend different times on different websites, and they'll all be random websites, but you can tell it to not visit certain websites if you don't want it to. You know, like, whatever you do, don't visit the Fox News network, because I don't want anybody thinking that about me, you know? Or, you know, or you can tell it, here's a list of websites I'm okay with the government thinking that I visit, you know, or whatever.
A white list of where you want to be, but you don't want to blacklist anything. I don't know.
So there is this movement in the cyber world of trying to keep your information private. I'm getting a tug on the thread from where we were before. No, I lost it again. Shoot. So
the movement in the cyber world to lie
from the government. Yeah. If I could turn back time, because it's important. That's the thing, is
it feels important.
It feels important. It's we want to be private from spies, from those who are spying, who can use our information against us. And I mean, that's the same as keeping yourself anonymous, giving a pen name when you write a book, or using a stage name instead of your real name in movies, and like, you want to keep your information safe from people who can, like, bad actors, people who can use that against you, who have the power to use that against you. Even, like, anybody has the power to use that against me. Like, the people down the street from me, I don't know if they have guns or if they have malintent, or if they Like, I don't know. I just don't know. It's unknown how any of this could hurt me or help me.
So that's your own status in it. That's fear or faith. Do you want to live with fear or faith? Fear that bad thing could happen down there, or faith that it didn't happen right a minute ago, so it's probably not going to happen next minute. And you just disregard those. The reason that you're staying private is so that people don't find anything about you. You just disregard. If you know my social security number, what does it matter, really?
Uh-huh.
As soon as you open an account in my name, I'll get notified of it, or if it's not as soon, I mean, when it hits my bank account. I did have, personally, someone used my account in Florida, and they used it at a car lot, or a high-rise, what do you call it, parking structure.
Okay.
There was a charge from that, and a charge, what was the other, it was not an Amazon charge. It was a charge from a store, just a store charge, that somehow they stole that number and used it in Florida. So it was easy to identify it because I watch my accounts. And that, I think, is what it's talking about, being aware.
Okay.
Your whole safety isn't in the fact that nobody knows you and no one can find your stuff. Being a hermit isn't the fun part of life. The fun part of life is living life and being aware of what's happening. Watch your bank statement every week. If you're watching that, you see a charge from a parking lot in Florida, you know you weren't there. It's an easy call and a direction and a change of a number, and send me a new card. And you delay your use of the card for a week.
Yeah, so you got to put in the work of keeping an eye. You got to be your own watchdog.
Yeah, you either be your own watchdog or you hire the security guard. Like you said, if you have the fence out front and the guys with the things in their ears, and there's people watching your cyber accounts, and you don't type in your Google questions. You say, "Hey, Jeeves, tell me the Google question. Give me this answer. Who's the Cilia and Charbonnaise?"
Right.
Tell me what that myth is. So you either do it yourself or someone else does it. And it's simple enough to do it yourself. We balance our own checkbooks. We don't have to have a bookkeeper do that for us. Yes.
Okay. So it is, if you're not ignorant, it's easy enough to do it yourself. Here's where I was going,
I think. If you're not ignorant or lazy.
So the problem is, how are we responsible to protect the ignorant and lazy from what could harm them? Like, I keep an eye on my bank account. Should I take steps to help make it universally safer for everyone to do banking, even if they're paying attention or not?
I want to answer that. Yes, start using Bitcoin instead of the regular banks.
Okay.
That will do it.
Yes,
that's
Bitcoin,
the avenue. That's the avenue that technology is sending us to say, yeah, be more secure in your banking. Let the blockchain secure it. And that's more secure than anything else you're going to do.
Like even more secure than keeping your money in cash or in gold? Or
yeah,
anything in a safe in your basement. That's more secure than that even?
Because you can't transact with the cash with the gold. So transactions, I guess, it's probably as secure as those. So yeah, in reality, I was having a conversation the other day with someone who was talking about Bitcoin. I said, you can view it as an investment because it is it's $90,000 right now. It was $20,000 a year ago, $60,000 through the year, most of the year. And now it's 90, and it's likely to go to 200. And they're saying it'll be 500 million. If it gets used by everybody, it will be valued at 500 million. Mm-hmm. That's where it's going to go if everyone uses it. So the only thing we can do to help increase that value is more users, more demand for it. The supply is limited. The higher demand gets, the higher the price is going to go. And it's a pendulum. It's a teeter-totter, seesaw, since there won't be any more created. So that would be more secure. So from money being stolen, if you can trust the blockchain. Blockchain's been around for 20 years now, I think. Yeah, roughly 20. And it seems to be secure. It's broken a couple of times. There have been some thefts, but I think they're not really I don't know. I really don't know if anyone can break it anymore. But I think it's fairly secure.
Possibly.
And it's open source.
If you spend
secure
enough money, you can have the right programs or the right system or the right apps to protect it. But if you have enough money to have Bitcoin, then you've got enough money to protect it that way too. But
well, no, the normal person, that's what I'd recommend. You just use it for your regular wallet. You're using it for a checking account. Use Bitcoin as a checking account. That's the rollout of the product needs to be a checking account.
Yeah.
And you're just going to use it for that. Your wallet, you'll transfer back and forth within it with everything that you do.
Interesting.
So that's the value of it, really. And the miners, the big computer facilities, I also talked to someone just recently that had worked on one of the big facilities in Montana. And they built them in Montana because it's cooler there all year round, up in the mountains, and a big facility that they're trying to use natural cooling as much as they can instead of air conditioning, instead of electrical air conditioning to cool the big banks of machines, but huge banks of machines.
Costs. Yeah.
That are running the blockchain and doing all the testing that's required to get a block secured and authorized. So those shops are all around and they're all private. It's all private people doing it. There's no government throwing money into it or subsidizing it. And, someone who put that up, they just increased their value they doubled their value. Yeah. From the time they built it to now. Well, from 200,000 to 900,000, that's 5 times their value.
Right.
So they're 5x. They're 5,000% better than they were.
Wow. Yeah, that all goes over my head. I don't understand how you could be mining. I know it's all like words that mean things that I don't know what they mean, but how is Bitcoin created and how can people use it to buy things, and like how can you spend less than 1 Bitcoin?
Yeah, you can spend 1,000,000th of a Bitcoin.
That's crazy.
It's all decimal points. You can go out 10 or 20 decimal points down to sell that amount. Yeah. And it calculates it. And that's what the block is. You become part of a block, and the block has to be certified before it's done. And I think that still it may take a minute or two. It used to take almost a day to get your block certified and actually transferred. But certifying the block, because that's what takes computers' power. They're dealing with the mathematical algorithm that you have to do on each block to secure it. And if you don't do that algorithm, that block won't be
secure. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think that's just securing that the transaction took place. The transaction is easy, saying it's taken 0.01% to this person from that person.
Right.
That transaction is easy, but they have to secure it. They have to lock it in the blockchain. But the other thing about the blockchain is it's not private at all. Anyone can look at it. It's open source. It's open. So you can see that this account transferred to this account, and that was secured, and now it's locked in here. No one can change it. I think that's what the blockchain does. It makes it unchangeable. It breaks the 1984 idea of changing history,
if the internet went down, there was no network anywhere anymore, would people still have Bitcoin?
I don't know the answer to that.
Aren't there like certificates they could have issued or something as physical
paper
proof?
Dollars?
There's no way to physically prove that you've got that.
That's the problems they had early on. Is Bitcoin would disappear. It'd just be gone. So you had 3 Bitcoin or 20 Bitcoin in your wallet, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. Where did it go? There's no way to where is that? And there was fraud. There's people that stole it, that tried to pull it away. There's people in prison for different things in regard to setting up this thing.
Right.
But if it continues, I was thinking about Bitcoin since I had the conversation. It was yesterday that I had the conversation. And I also watched X. 6 months ago, it was hard to say X for me. It wasn't in my mentality. It was Twitter. You tweet people.
Right.
And so you go through that little avenue, but now it's like it clicked very quickly in my autonomic nervous system. X is just what it's called, and it's fine. It doesn't feel odd anymore. It feels completely valid. Bitcoin is going to get to that level that it's going to be a completely valid currency.
Right.
When that happens is when it's going to jump in value. I mean, it's just the fact everyone's using it.
Right.
It still will be just the dollars you put into it, though.
But more valuable than, it's I don't want to talk about it because I'm afraid of it still.
Okay. You want to stay private.
So,
okay, keep that privacy.
Yeah. I'd rather have actual gold that I can hold in my hands.
Right.
Because they can't, even if there's a fire in my house, there's going to be a melted pile of gold, but it's still there,
It's still gold. Yeah.
So.
If the, what do they call those bombs that go off that break all electronics, turn all electronics off?
Yeah. Electric
pulse?
So, yeah, like a pulse. Like, yeah. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but what is it?
Yeah. But it turns everything on. If they do that and it shuts off everything, then your generators aren't even going to work. Everything that you had on that computer is done. It fries the computers, perhaps. So we're putting a lot of faith in what we have online. I can look up this myth online and understand it. But if that was down, what avenue would I have to go through to find the myth and its description? You'd have to find a book again.
Yeah. Okay, so Facebook has been in, Meta, what's his name, Zuckerberg has been in court for Facebook's privacy policy and things like that. So it is important that even though most people don't care whether Facebook knows their information or not and sells their information to other companies, that was the big thing, is they were selling your information to whoever they wanted to, for them to use however they wanted to make money off of your information. They were making money, and the other companies can now make money off of your information. Whether someone cares about that or not, it's important that we stop that. We say need to make. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I listened to it was Matt Gaetz was questioning TikTok.
Yeah.
The other day, just on a video I watched yesterday about their privacy policy. No, it wasn't Matt Gaetz. It was Texas. It was the guy in Texas with the beard, senator.
The guy in Texas with a beard. Narrows it down.
He's very famous. Mark Rubio.
Very famous guy in Texas with a beard.
No, he's the senator. He's the senator.
It's not Chuck Norris, is it?
Ted Cruz. Chuck Norris, yeah. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was against TikTok and saying, your privacy policy says that you'll share it with your parent companies. They're part of your group. So all the information that you give to TikTok can be shared with their parent company and with the sister companies, or however they identified it. And he said, so the question he asked, is this company that is headquartered in China, that is your parent company, is that part of the group you're going to share things with?
Uh-huh.
They wouldn't answer it. They wouldn't answer it. They're trying to skate around that.
Yeah.
But that's in the privacy policies, is they're going to share it with their parent companies. They're going to try to keep it in the company. But TikTok is owned by this, and Facebook's owned by Meta, and Meta has Meta is Meta. But
yeah.
So there's not a China connection there, but there's a China connection clearly to TikTok. And so is this going to the government? Can the government potentially seize that data? Is the fear that China's going to get all the data about the U.S. citizens.
Right.
And really, why is it a fear? What are we afraid of? I don't know what that is. But he did finally say, yes, they are part of our group. So physically, in the privacy policies, privacy statements, it says who they can share information with, what we use with your data, how we use your data. There's a privacy statement from everybody. Everyone's put that out. And so you're secure that they're going to use it that way, or they don't have to. It's like the banking contracts. Every clause of a privacy statement doesn't have to be used. That's kind of what TikTok says. He says we don't do that based on U.S. regulations or U.S. something. He said, we're not sharing it. Said, but in your policy, it says you will. Or says you can. So the policy allows it. Whether they do it or not is another thing. That's ethics. That's whether you're ethically going to do the thing that you're allowed to do by by your contract.
Yeah.
Just like every loan is written that could be called at any time by the bank, by the issuer. They can call your loan fully due at any time. That's
At their
part
own
of every
discretion.
contract. But they won't do it. They don't make money if they call your loan due. But it can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to the beginning. Is it reasonable to try and stay anonymous?
Could we try to stay anonymous based on love or faith? What's the faith side of it other than fear? We've identified that fear is the motivating factor to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
Is there any other factor? Is there a reason that someone wouldn't want to be a public figure?
Well, not so much that they wouldn't want to be a public figure. I mean, that's not my concern. My concern is fear that that knowledge can be used against me, I guess.
And it's only in someone finding you, right? I don't know that there's any other thing they could do. They could find your house.
Yeah. Could
What
they
else
steal
is
my money?
potential?
Could they harm my children? Could they shoot my dog? Could they call SWAT on me? And SWAT is known for shooting before asking questions. And I lose everyone that I love because someone decided they don't like me and said there's definitely this happening in that house, you know?
Yeah, because they've had these conversations. This is the proof, and you prove to the judge and get a restraining order, or get a search warrant, a no-knock search warrant of your house because of these statements in your conversations over the last 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And we know that the house, we know that's where she lives.
Right, but that's all fear.
It's all fear. It's all supposition that they can piece it together, and they say, this is the type of person it is. And now since we're a big blue country and she's a homophobe and she's a racist, we have to get rid of her.
Yeah.
So they'll come in and with a strategy, but can you battle that?
I'm not a homophobe and a racist, by the way, just so in case.
Oh,
anyone
that was me
is.
we were talking about. Okay. All right.
Well, you're not either, but that's like.
I would bet that with the words that we've used, they could piece together those type of ideas, though. Anyone can piece together anything, especially if you have 5 years worth of conversation. You can say anything. Plus, you've got the AI modeling and stealing of your voice. They can make you say anything. Just like they did those, the funny videos of Kamala Harris saying everything.
Yeah.
The AI can make your voice say anything it wants. And they can say, see, that was published, what is today? November of 2024. Published in November of 2024 that she said that. And so they could be writing it right now, writing it so that they know that when they find you, they can kill a couple other people.
Which is another fear of AI. Like AI, that someone could use AI to hurt me.
Yeah. And they could post it out online with the same direction, maybe the same music in front. So they say, see, it's proof. They did this.
Uh-huh.
They put this out. They put it on another platform, but, that's because they wanted to hide it. They wanted to hide their true identity. They're using that thing to create noise, but this is truly what they did.
Yeah.
Can you be safe?
Is safety even a thing that you can have? It's just a feeling of safety. It's what you feel safe based on what you're thinking about whether you're safe or not, about your circumstances. So if
your thoughts are most important in your safety,
an illusion.
It's an illusion that you're being manipulated into. If you're just ignorant and what's the other word? Ignorant and lazy, you're going to feel like safety is whatever they tell you safety is. They're going to manipulate your feeling of safety by saying, if you just don't put your name on things, then you're going to be safe, anonymous. Keep anonymity. Yeah, that's how you're safest. And you go to the bank and you can get an account, a numbered account. And I recommend that on certain aspects, that you want to get a numbered account that's totally anonymous, put your money there. If someone's going to be after that money and you know that there are nefarious characters, you want to protect it, you can protect it in an anonymous account, but the bank doesn't even know it's you. So no one will know.
You can do
I
that?
don't know very many. Yeah,
I don't know very many people that would be in a role to do that. You can get an investment account just based on numbers that the broker dealer doesn't know who it is that's behind it. You have to be authorized to get that. I mean, there's steps to take through to get it. So
that
someone would
sounds
think
like
that it's
something I want. How do I do that?
Yeah, right. Why would you want it? See, that's the point. We're not generally under the hassle that's going to take place. A teller isn't going to look you up and give your name to someone else. We've got general ethics in our society.
Okay, so let me give you a situation, I guess. Let's say you're in a situation where there's abuse and you want to escape, but you can't escape because you won't have enough means to live. So you want to save up some money separately. Like you're squirreling away cash or whatever. But you can't save that cash at your location. It's not safe there. You have to get it out of...
You have to open your own private account.
You have to get it out of your name even because this abuser has control over your name just by merit of being married to you or something. And so you got to get this money out of your name. So having an account that's not in your name, that's just a number, how can you even have that kind of account? What keeps other people from using that account? I mean, it's just private to everybody except you. So it is tied to your name. Otherwise you can't prove that it's you.
You've still got the debit card. You've got the debit card and you've got the checks. I mean, you know who it is. If you go into the bank and prove who you are, there is information there. But any teller or anyone else that looks at that bank statement or gets the rolls of the bank is going to have that as a numbered account.
It's private from everyone that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's got to be a privacy thing. It has to be related to a social security number. There still has to be reports that go to the IRS based on it. So it's not like you're separated from it, but the face of the account isn't you. So that's the only thing that's private is the face of the account. On your checks, maybe your signature card is just a number as well. I don't know how you can get to that point. No one writes checks anyway. Your debit card is how you move money.
Well, and when you go and pull out cash, you have to sign at the window and
prove who you are, your ID,
things like that.
So it's hard to use as an individual for a cash checking account. That may be more difficult to try to be anonymous completely with your bank that way.
Yeah, safety is an illusion. Then should we just throw everything out the window? Who cares who knows me? I'm gonna put my social security out there. I'm gonna tattoo it on my arm, and any homeless guy that walks by me can just write it down and take that to the bank. You know,
tattoo it in Gallifreyan so that at least you have some security.
You have to work for it, but no, it's an illusion.
Make them work on it.
Security is an illusion.
I've got my Gallifreyan menu here. I'm trying to learn how to speak, how to write, so I can read if there's an S on your arm or not.
Okay. For
sure.
That is amazing.
So I'm learning a language. It's going to be very useful.
Okay.
I'll figure out how to start writing it.
Write code messages.
Yeah.
So.
Or it's just, that was what Jesus did in the sand. He was writing Gallifreyan. They just said he wrote with his pencil in the sand. He wrote a whole sentence when he knelt down there and wrote in the sand with his finger.
Yeah. So, really though, what is the use of keeping anything private then?
If safety is an illusion, we're at risk. Everything we do, everywhere we go, like you said, we're driving a car. You drive down the street, you're at risk. Yeah. Why would anyone search you out to find you? And maybe there's crazy people that are going to try to search you out because they heard you say something. So that's what you're concerned with. That's what I'd be concerned with in this conversation, that someone who heard a piece of this conversation is going to search us out and find us. But there are just as many crazy people walking down the street in front of your house 4 times a day. You got 4 crazy people every day. I probably have 2 crazy people walk in front of my house every day. There's
Uh-huh.
4 total people.
And
2
you
of
know
them are
them by
probably
name.
crazy.
You once
Yeah.
invited them into your home.
Yes. Yeah. And they're going to do something stupid just like anyone else. So I think we're at much risk to the neighbor down the street
Yeah.
or the person that happens to be driving through your town, just happenstance. This is just the city I'm showing up in right now.
Yeah.
Or on The Jerk, you remember the Jerk, Steve Martin's movie, the gunshot guy, the guy that was, the new phone book came out and Steve Martin was really happy about it. His name was in the book, whatever his character was. I forgot his character's name.
Uh-huh.
He said, the phone book's here. I'm somebody or whatever. He put it out and then there was a guy that opened up the phone book with his gun and he found a name and he found his name and he found his address because it's written right there in the phone book, and he goes in with a gun.
Yeah.
I guess he found out where he worked, but then he started shooting at him from across the hill and it was hitting the cans. And he says, he hates these cans. Stay away from those cans. He's trying to kill him and the cans were blowing up. So stay away from the cans. So
That's funny.
he ran away. The Jerk is a funny movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But you couldn't do anything about that. If someone's going to pick your name out of a phone book or out of the hat or,
Right.
because
It was all there.
You're listed somewhere or you made a conversation and printed it on the internet, if they're going to find you, they're going to find you. The way that you protect yourself from that is stay away from the cans. You identify what they're firing at
Uh-huh.
and you get away from them.
Okay.
If it's the cans or you find out they just want a picture of you, a paparazzi, the only thing they want are pictures. And if your picture is worth that much, I don't know what you do to get where you don't do what Lady Diana did. You don't race down the tunnel with your Mercedes trying to get away from the paparazzi, if that's what she was doing. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you crash and then you die right there in the middle of the tunnel. So
Right.
paparazzi has some problems, but if you fear them so much that you kill yourself or you die, your driver kills you. That doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't help anything.
Right.
She should still be around for another 50 years, but she was too afraid. I think I don't really know.
Yeah, you
how
weren't there.
She died. Princess Diana. I wasn't there. Yeah.
And I've heard speculation that she was pregnant with a illegitimate child, and then the driver of
From that
the
rich
car.
guy.
I don't know.
And it was a conspiracy. He did it on purpose. He was paid to
Right.
kill them.
Yeah. So I watched House of Cards on Netflix.
Okay.
And that just ruined government for me. Like, I can't trust anyone in the
Anything.
government to actually be doing the right thing. It's all like,
And especially
if it's even a little bit accurate to that show, it's all
and
strings connected to everything.
yeah. And I think that's politics as usual right now, is the House of Cards type.
Right.
I haven't watched House of Cards, so I don't know it. I know the name, and I know someone in politics recently, or someone, maybe it was Fox News, that recently identified it, said, this is just like the House of Cards. This is a House of Cards setup, exactly the way this occurred.
Huh.
And
yeah.
in real life, in right now what we're living through, this political environment, politicians are operating those schemes.
Yeah.
And that's why they're
it's
jokes. That's why it's a funny sitcom. That's why people would watch it, because it's true.
It's not a sitcom, it's
happening.
drama. It's horror.
Okay, horror. I don't watch horror shows. That's why I'm never going to watch it.
That's why you're never going to watch it. It's reality horror. It's like, yes, this could actually be happening.
This is really happening, yeah.
But it's very compelling. It's going to be, sucks you in.
Yeah. And
so just the fact that it could happen, like the Final Destination movies that you should never watch, like random things killing people.
Oh, that's right. I know that thing.
Yeah.
Just seeing that. Just cars going off the track.
Yeah, you could just be like living a normal life, and then something suddenly comes and cuts you in half out of the blue.
Well, there was The guy up here that was just cutting the tree in his backyard said, and it was a widowmaker tree. So it killed him. He had to climb the tree, was cutting a branch off, and the branch just fell exactly the wrong way.
Wow.
Killed him right there on the tree. And that can happen in trees all the time. So he could have probably done something different than he did. I mean, certainly he did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But he was just
Because he
trimming the
died.
tree in his backyard. He was not doing anything outrageous or real risky. You know,
Yeah.
he was up in the tree, feeling like he stood in the right place, but something turned it around the wrong way, and it took him out just like that. And his wife was there watching him.
Oh no, she was watching. She saw it.
Yeah,
happen?
she was watching him. She was helping him get the tree cut off, and you know, they agreed this is where he's going to stand, and it's just, yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But
no, I
that was
remember when I was young, there was somebody in the church community that was working on his roof, and the wind picked up and threw him off the roof, right? And he died. And it's like,
he did it.
You're doing something mostly completely safe, but something happens.
It was a 3-story building. He's on the top of the 3rd floor, and I think he must not have been, and maybe he was even tied on, but it broke the tie because the wind caught the steel. They were on a steel on the 3rd floor, and the wind gust just caught the steel and blew him right off. Maybe even broke his security harness. I don't know. I can't imagine he would be up there and not be harnessed, but maybe he was just up there on the flat of the roof, just sliding him around, but the wind picked it up and knocked him right off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he was, I knew the guy. He was an unextraordinary person, as dull a person as you could imagine, but he didn't deserve to die.
No. Yeah.
So.
Right. Final destination.
Right.
I hope that I die crazy like that. I hope that it's not because I was being stupid. It was just something
that happened.
Crazy happened.
And quick. And
quick.
And to die quick.
Yeah.
Just like that, so everyone can say that was such a shock.
Yeah.
I always love that story. I want to die peacefully in my sleep like my grandfather, not like those other screaming people in his car. So, yeah, that's a good story. Peacefully in my sleep.
That's funny. All right. So, do we try to keep? Go ahead.
I think that the thing to be aware of is how much it's hindering what might happen. So, are you hindering your progress by being afraid and by being anonymous?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the brakes on? Are we running with brakes? Trying to be anonymous,
instead of
trying to be, brakes and seatbelts?
Yeah, I mean, you put your seatbelt on to protect yourself if something happens, right? But instead of just never driving anywhere.
Okay, so that's a different idea.
Okay.
You're putting your seatbelt on, you can still go as fast as you want. You're still barreling down the road. That's the intelligence and the not lazy. It's the energetic thing you're doing. Proactively, you're putting your seatbelt on so that you can go as fast as you want, and you're gonna still move forward. You're not trying to protect yourself, but putting the brakes on, putting the emergency brake on 30%, so that or the governor on the engine. The most I'm gonna go is 35 miles an hour now, because I'm so afraid of getting in a crash. Governors on trucks that are at 60. I drove a truck once. It was governed at 60. It wouldn't go over 60 no matter what you did.
Yeah.
So going down a hill, it would hold it at 60. So that's putting brakes on your account. That's the fear of not trusting the driver, not trusting yourself. You're going to let your truck promote what you drive.
Right.
You're going to be manipulated by it. So in order to free yourself to grow or to operate at the speed that the system is going to allow you to operate, you need to not have the brakes on. The brakes on would be saying, we'll do everything except something that will let people see who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Want to be completely anonymous, but trying to be anonymous, anonymity does brakes.
What if instead of putting the brakes on, you just don't drive over the speed limit? Like you're driving, you don't have the brakes on, but you're not like speeding down going 100 and
okay,
whatever.
so yeah, it still takes mental energy. Let's just say mental energy to maintain that speed. You've got to be thinking about it. You got to use your brake and use your foot pedal, and you got to consciously do it. So if you don't let it automatically do it for you, you're consciously gonna do that.
And eventually you can put on the cruise control. Maybe you could be like, okay, this is where I'm comfortable.
And that's why I use cruise control, because it lets you not have to think about that.
Yeah.
We're talking about not using our names or someone else's names that's pertinent.
That could be used to identify who we are and where we live. Yeah.
Right. We can use names like Tim Ferriss and Donald Trump and know, anyone out there in the public domain. We're talking about them, but we don't want to bring anyone else into the public domain by this conversation.
Right. Or ourselves. So kind of.
Yeah. It takes anyone else that's not already in the public domain. We don't want to introduce someone to the public domain. Like Robert Thomas, I said he wrote a book, but he wrote a book. He doesn't mind if his name's being used. He's in the public domain, even though nobody knows about him and nobody cares.
Right.
No one's going to search him out. Probably no one's ever going to read the book again.
Right.
Written in 1978. That's too long ago. You're taking your mental energy. It's hampering what you're able to do if every sentence you say or every anecdote you come up with has to filter based on that governor, that I don't want to bring anyone else into the public domain. You can't talk about the city you're in or the band you're in or the work that you're doing or whether you're talking to a client or just a person down the street. We don't want to bring anything else. You gotta edit before you say everything that you say if you're in that mode.
Yeah.
Would it be different if we didn't have to be in that mode? If we could just freely talk as you and I would talk without sharing this conversation? In fact, we're sharing it says there's some fear that something's going to happen nefarious with it. What if we just, realizing that safety, the fear is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to find us, they're going to find us anyway. And public domain, is that really to be feared? If our family gets in the public domain, like the Kardashians, we can use their name because they are in the public domain. Right. They ostensibly do everything in the public.
So
would it hurt?
Maybe it wouldn't be so bad for you or me because we can't be offended. But other people are offendable.
If there are people that are apt to take offense on things,
it would hurt them emotionally. It would hurt these other people emotionally to be found and to be put in public.
Possibly ridiculed.
Yeah. Possibly anything derogatory said about them, I mean, I watch, like the Kardashians, there are a lot of things said about those people that aren't very nice. And
right.
They're either very good at brushing it off, like, yeah, we're better than them anyway. Like, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, like, I don't know what the Kardashians are even like, but they're business people.
They brush it off with pride.
Celebrities. Yeah, and so, but that's going to happen. People are going to say nasty things about you or about what you think, and some people lash back and defend themselves because they can't help it but do that, but you don't need to defend yourself. I don't think I need to. If anybody says anything, I'm okay with them thinking wrong things about me. I think I'm okay with that.
Right. We just don't care what other people think. And that's fine. That's part of the conversation. If you're going to open a conversation with somebody, you have to not be offended by the conversation that you're opening.
Right.
If you're a person that's apt to offense, you're never going to open a conversation with anybody because they're always going to say something that offends you.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. In normal conversation, there'll be a mistake or there'll be a flippant statement, or they'll talk about some black person and they'll say, I don't talk to racists.
Uh-huh.
I'm offended by that. I'm offended that you used that term or that you talked about the Kardashians in a civil conversation. However, someone who's going to take offense is going to take offense anyway. That's the the victim status. They're going to be unrightly abused by being introduced into the public arena.
Yeah. What are defamation suits all about?
Is that libel and defamation, where you're telling a lie about somebody or you're defaming, you're saying they did something? Well, that was who was it? Johnny Depp? That was his
and Amber Heard
deal last summer.
Yeah.
That she had defamed him, and so she didn't win the argument against him.
Yeah.
She was trying to make him look out like worse than normal. Something. I didn't follow the trial, and I don't really know the
But it was
conclusion.
all over social media because Johnny Depp is really popular.
He's in the public sphere, and she brought herself into the public sphere, and then, as I understand, she lost. She wasn't awarded what she was looking for.
Right.
Because of defamation, because she did something inappropriate and likely did it on purpose. That's the only reason you could, if it were accidental, if we're an accidental defamation, you just didn't know. I just said something that I thought was true, but it's not true, I guess. I apologize. Or I don't apologize. I said it was untrue. I wish it were true. Even if you did that, but if it were, you defame somebody, but inadvertently, not with malice.
Right.
Perhaps there's a different way to view it. But a person who's going to be offended by being defamed it doesn't matter if you had the right intent or not. Your intention really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. So anyone that brings a case against someone else for defamation is an offendable person. Like it's usually because, it hurts their career, right? Or their life, their livelihood. They're not able to carry on because of these lies about them.
Right. Yeah, he's a convicted felon, so he can't carry on anymore. They're hoping that a convicted felon could never be elected president.
Yeah.
So you try to defame, and even create the facts. You create the facts. Yeah, there's a felony conviction. It could be overturned, but whether that's the case or not. Yeah. I've heard that recently.
Okay. So could an invasion of our privacy could it hurt our careers or our livelihood? I mean, that just comes back to the fear thing, is I'm afraid of what might happen if, and I mean, we've got to admit that all of the information about us can be found. If someone tried hard enough, if they knew where to look, you can find out who we are and where we live, and the names of our kids and the names of our mothers-in-law. And I mean, they can find that if they put in the work. But is there something to be said about not freely giving that information up?
I think that's what you'd define as the brakes. You're just putting the brakes on. You're not giving that information up. You're holding it back from
speeding.
Holding back information. If information gets out there, it's going to do something. It's going to, whatever it is, it's going to move somewhere. If you're holding information, it doesn't have a chance to move. And it takes energy to withhold, to try to say things exactly right every time. It does
take energy. Yeah.
Living on the teleprompter. If everything has to be scripted, then it's more difficult to hide from the media than to just stand out in front of the media and talk for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So the difference of this campaign with hiding behind your teleprompter or just talking.
I think we're better at it, though, now than we were at the beginning of the year.
Better at controlling?
Yeah, better at controlling what we say.
Yeah. If there's...
I mean, it's easier. It's not as hard, right? Is it harder? Is it hard for you still?
Just that pause. If you have to pause to think about what you're going to say next.
Yeah.
Or if you have to pause before talking about someone else or introducing another concept into the conversation. I think I'm aware that this is a public conversation.
Yeah.
As much more now than I was earlier. You get to be aware that what you're saying is potentially, it has to be of importance. at least in my mind, to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be important enough to me to say it, to represent it as me, but it'd be better if it were able to be me saying it rather than some anonymous character that I put on the screen.
Yeah.
And whether we ever put anything on the screen, I mean, it's not, you're not looking at it, but it's still out there.
Right.
I was thinking of the 6 degrees of connection. Who's that? 6 degrees of? Who's the actor?
I don't know. Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Within 6 people, you've touched everybody in the world. So we're only sharing this right now. The only people that seen it are relatives, close friends, really close people to us. If one of them shares it with somebody else, and I don't know that that's ever happened, or I don't know that it hasn't or that it has. I don't know if we can figure that out. But as soon as it shares once, and then if it shares twice, if we go 2 levels deep on it, then that 2 levels deep, we still are not anonymous because they know where they got it from and they can track that back. They can find where it came from. So even if we're totally anonymous by 3 or 4, or maybe by 6 levels deep, if they really want to search through where they heard about this from, because podcasts that I'm listening to, I know who showed it. I know who shared it with me. I can go back to that person. Who shared it with you? Chances are they'll remember that too.
Yeah.
So in the public domain, even if you're anonymous, they're going to know who Jody Moore is.
Yeah.
I don't know where she lives and I don't care. And if someone did care, they could find her, even if she was trying to be hidden with her address. Any podcast that you listen to, you know who shared it with you. They know where they found it. And if it happens to be the way we originated, that it's a family member, then you're going to get to that family member soon enough. Yeah, that's their podcast. They've been doing that for 5 years. And, well, I'd like to know who they are. They seem to be trying to be anonymous. Oh, I don't think they're trying to be anonymous. There's the address. It'll be just that easy. They're regular people.
So after this conversation, I don't think that I want to change anything yet still. Like, I'm not feeling better about being...
the illusion that you're under. See, and we talk about that. That's really a belief that you're holding.
Right.
It's not a reality. It's what you're holding based on faith or fear. You're holding a belief that this is the right way to go. And it's fine that you choose to believe that. You can choose to believe whatever you want. And we can follow that path. So you're feeling like that's what we should do. We should put this 35% brake on and keep that 35% covered so that we don't have to go past it. So I'm describe it that way. Does that make sense?
We choose our speed and we stay under that. Like, I mean, not the cruise control. That would be that's too easy. Well,
there's no way to do a cruise control in what we're talking about.
Right. Unless we just talk freely and then we edit everything out.
And then you edit it. Yeah. And we've tried that a time or two. I think things are still spilled through. I bet we could find 5 at least in the last things we've done that are
You think so?
spilled through. I know of one. I remember I heard one as I was listening in my car. So I said, there's something that shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But it's out there.
Yeah.
And we're going to make mistakes on that because we don't have a cruise control that's going to guarantee you're not there. We don't have a governor on the engine, but we're governing ourselves and hampering the conversation and trying to just bring up what's necessary. Now, you feel that way and you want to keep driving with the brakes on or the governor on and keep our driving under the speed limit, watching our speed.
Right. Yes.
I feel like my personal feeling, I don't care. And it doesn't matter who it offends or who gets upset. They're going to get upset anyway. So I would feel more comfortable talking about the real situations and operating it and then letting it do what it does by hampering that, by putting out not a false narrative, an amended narrative. It's not getting the reactions that it could get. Even if someone gets very angry at what you say.
What if they become fanatical? What if they fall in love with you and come and kill mom and try to force you to let them move in with you? What if that, huh?
Get some fanatics.
What if it's not that they're angry? It's just they can't control. They've got a mental illness, of course, because anyone that's thinking right wouldn't. I mean, I look people up on the internet all the time, and I try and find out where they live, and I know how to look up, like, tax records on the county. They're public. Like, that's, I know how to do that, but I'm not going to do anything with that knowledge.
You can stalk on people all over the place.
Yeah.
But if you had a reason to stalk somebody, and there's probably people with reasons, that would be an adventure. That's my hook. Peter Pan statement. Let it be an adventure. Through intelligence, through knowledge. If someone came up and said they would threaten this, and my wife is in danger, and here's some challenges, and someone is so in love with me that they just can't stop themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You deal with that with intelligence and with sanity. You work with it. You maybe bring them further into the public. That's what seems what Jordan Peterson said he's going to do with the people that are challenging him. He says, as soon as they bring anything, I'm going to publicize it. We're going to do this in the public. We're not going to allow it to be in anonymity. He says, I can say whatever I want about stuff that I'm involved in. But then the courts on Trump, they put him under a silence order, whatever that's called, that he couldn't talk about that case. He couldn't say anything about it as the defendant in the case. So he still isn't able to say anything about it, the gag order.
Yeah.
They could create a gag order, but if we're operating in the public, there's no gag orders on this. We could bring, if there's some crazy out there, we could bring the crazy into the conversation. Why did you think that you wanted to do this? I mean, you found me. Great. Let's talk. We wanted you to find me. Thanks for coming in. And I was thinking that if we did ever invite other people that would take over the conversation, we didn't really have that earlier. Someone talked too much, but didn't take it over and say, this is now my conversation and you guys shut up. I'm just going to talk.
Yeah.
But if someone wanted to do that, that'd be something you'd deal with intelligently at the time.
Right.
But if you don't have that opportunity, it's still just a hypothetical out there that may never happen. It'd be cool if it would happen. I mean, it's nice not to get shot on stage, but wasn't it cool that it happened?
Uh-huh. But what if you die?
I mean, right. He could have died, but he didn't die. It's not nice to think that your life could have ended right then. I mean, it was a snap second, 1/10 of a second move that would have been death or living. And
Right.
it happened to go the living way, and that's a great story. Fantastic story. As much as John Taylor's watch with the bullet in it in his pocket, right? At Joseph Smith's martyrdom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wonderful story. He didn't get to die. He could have died. I mean, the bullet could have been 2 inches to the left, and John Taylor would be dead too. But
Right.
he wasn't. For some reason, or for whatever circumstantial thing that happened. And Donald Trump is alive, but he has a story.
So then you're saying you have to have faith that nothing bad will happen.
You don't have to do that. I'm happy to live under the governor rule.
Uh-huh.
Because we're not looking for compromise. And that's part of, I think we talked about this before too, or we'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
Compromise isn't what we're after. We're after a unanimous decision. If it's not fully comfortable, and we're not to the point that you're fully comfortable, I'm just stating where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with whatever ramification comes. But
Right.
and the one thing that was holding me back as a thing, I did get the approval finally. I have an employer that has outside business activity approvals. On November 20th, they sent the approval through finally. 3 months worth of them deciding on it, I guess.
They had to listen to all of our conversations to make sure that they were okay with it first. And they
must
were
have done
all
that.
so boring, it took forever for them to get through them.
That's right. That may have been what they did. They said, well, here he is. So let's hear what he's saying. See if he's really honest about what he said he was talking about. Drivel.
Uh-huh.
They put the approval through, so I'm fully, I don't have that governor on me right now. I don't have any professional limitation.
Yeah.
They did put the thing, don't talk about finance stuff. It has to be pre-approved to talk about finance stuff. So we won't be talking
So
finance.
we can't talk about the family bank anymore? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we can't talk about
Bitcoin?
I can't make recommendations like Bitcoin. Yeah, like we just did. I can't make a recommendation about Bitcoin.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Now, as it comes up, I can't make a presentation. So family bank, I can't present the family bank.
Okay.
We can talk about it. It can be part of a conversation as long as
Yeah.
it's not something that that I'm trying to present and promote. It's the presenting, promoting.
In the role of your other career.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm free to talk about whatever I talk about as long as I'm not trying to promote something.
Enthusiastic consent is what we're looking for.
Yeah, that would work.
We both want whatever we do, it's got to be...
No,
No,
I still don't even agree with that.
No?
Because the consent word is not unanimous, is not energetic. Enthusiasm. Energized agreement, that might be the word I would use.
Agreement, yeah.
We're
okay,
in full agreement to move forward. That would be what it takes, is full agreement, full unanimous agreement on both sides, or all 5 sides that are involved here. If, everybody needs to be on board that is aware this is happening, that, yeah, it's good. That may include both first tier relationships.
Right.
The full first tier and both of
the full committee. We need a committee agreement.
Yeah. Right. The board of directors has to approve it and be a unanimous approval. If someone's still leery about it, we have to hold off. We can't eliminate a break the governor unless it's fully agreed to. Full agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, of course I agree with that. Of course, let's not let's not dox ourselves. But I am committed to learning more and also growing getting away from my fear, growing out of my fear. I think that's valuable still. I don't want to be afraid of anything, So.
And that's part of this conversation, is just identifying where it is. It's a fear and an illusion. It's a belief. The fear is a belief.
Yeah. So another time, I would like to talk about my fear of AI and my fear of all of the intelligence that Google and Facebook have acquired on me.
There's so many people that are talking about AI. So are you looking at it now? Are you watching things? Studying it?
Every now I'm not studying it diligently. I'm studying it when I see it.
Yeah.
And when I think about
I'm taking a portion of my study time is onto AI now. So I'm starting to look at that and seeing what it does. But what I see now, you still need to be fully technically versed in order to utilize it. Even now, it's not commonplace yet. There's still a few steps before it can be commonplace, but I think it's happening quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
About like Bitcoin. Bitcoin may be a stable currency before AI is a stable household item. But they might happen at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
I think they're both right there on the horizon. They're both right. And then as soon as we hit that, like we talked about the receding horizon, it'll be cool to see what happens next.
What's after that?
What's the next step? AI isn't the end. I mean, people were thinking AI is the end, but...
Is it becoming gods after that? After that, it's the second coming, and we all are moved up to heaven, and we all gain immortal life.
And what does eternal life mean? We're already in eternal life.
Yeah, no, I found out recently that eternal life is different from immortal life. Eternal life you only get in the very top part of heaven. And
oh, really?
And in the bottom parts of heaven is just immortal. It's not eternal, which is confusing. But those are the words that the church uses, so...
Maybe we could discuss that. We'd have a religious discussion on...
I would love to have more religious discussions, because
eternal and immortal.
That fascinates me the most.
That's where your study time goes.
Yeah.
Eternal and immortal. And you think there's a difference?
That's what it appears there is.
I'll have to look at that.
That's what they say. Yeah.
I think they're the same.
Well, I thought they were the same too, but I found out they're
we'll
not.
have to see what the difference is in that. Well, yeah, the source. Maybe the source is different.
Maybe.
But we can get into that later. I'll study it a little bit. I'll think on that idea.
Okay, and we'll talk about that another time. I'm out of time.
So I told you all the news. The news is I'm authorized to do this.
That's great. So now we can move forward without fear.
Yes. Well, not yet.
Oh.
But we're going to move forward. We need to get everyone's agreement.
That fear.
Well, we're going to keep the brakes on. We're going to keep the brakes on and maintain anonymity as long as possible, which is fine. But we're not worried about the next step. We'll just get there when we get there.
Okay.
All right. So we're not talking next week, but the week after is going to be my mystery thing.
Yeah.
I'll just bring you something and you can be surprised by it.
I will be so surprised when you decide to talk about immortal and eternal.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything that we've talked about. It's going to be something completely new. So it'll be something that's off the radar of anything we've conversed with. I want to introduce a new topic, and I don't know what it is yet. I'll know it the day before.
Okay.
So it'll be what I'm doing the day before.
I'm excited for that. That'll be cool.
It'll be fun. Just like my conversation with David Bednar on the seat. It's what he's thinking about today that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So.
Very
all
good.
right.
Okay.
Well, we'll hang up. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We appreciate you taking time to listen. We'd love to hear your feedback and thoughts. Please continue the conversation with us at doyouhaveaminuteconversations@gmail.com. Your participation means the world to us, and we look forward to sharing more exciting conversations with you in the future.